Big DTD, the Europa League Final. Leipzig vs Lazio. This is our chance to make history. The squad's ready, the fans are buzzing, and the stage is set. Let's bring that trophy home. See you on the other side.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 31 of Red Bull KloppBot here on Sean Does FM with RB Leipzig. I hope you're doing well and coming today. We've got the Europa League Final in our first half season here at RB Leipzig as we take on Lazio. Also, do all the end of season review stuff as well as the Red Bull review. Hopefully the KloppBot will keep us here because otherwise that's a really weird stint here. Only 6 months at RB Leipzig. But for a little more to that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, all that good YouTube stuff. But yesterday, we took on Sevilla in the semis, so if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. In the end, a relatively comfortable win for us there over both leagues. We picked up a 3-1 win away from home, backed it up with a 2-1 win at the Red Bull Arena, so we went through quite comfortably 5-2. On the other side of the draw, it could have actually been set up for an all Red Bull final, but Salzburg got an early red card there in the second leg after the first one, did finish 0-0, and it told late they were 1-0 up just off the back of that red card, but Lazio 2 late goals there, and they've made their way through to this final where they will take us on. So we're going to be playing this Europa League final here, hopefully can pick up the first European trophy in the history of the club, and we've played 2 games off the back of that episode, thankfully. Already a Champions League spot locked up for next season, so it did mean we could rotate quite heavily for the 2 games that we did have left to play in the Bundesliga. First up, took on a team at the bottom of the table in Hertha Berlin. They got a red card quite late in the first half, and it kind of influenced this game a little bit, albeit at halftime. Already 2-0 in front. One of those goals, though, did come just off the back of that red card. Really dominant display from us here. Nusa with a double, Silva with a penalty, and Baumgartner Mariba, they also chipped in with goals. Baumgartner playing this one, coming back from that injury that he's had recently. So that one pretty much locked up third spot in the Bundesliga, as well as the fact that Freiburg, who were chasing us, they lost to Dortmund just a couple of hours before. So a good one for us there, albeit expected over Hertha Berlin, even with that red card considered. Then on the final day of the season, we took on a decent team away from home in Bayer Leverkusen, a 1-0 loss here. Did think that we might have a chance here to pinch a point at half-time because a missed penalty from Tapsoba, good save actually from Van der Waart, who we've been starting his last couple of games here as a Leipzig player. Indeed, he's off to Brentford next season after that shocker he had last week against Monaco in the quarters of the Europa League, but he saved a penalty, actually did a really good game. We did bring on some big guns in the second half off the bench just to make sure they had a couple of minutes before this Europa League final, because by this stage it had been a little while since they last played in that second leg where we did take on Sevilla, but unfortunately Boniface scored there quite early in the second half. Stats wise, we probably should have actually had a decent chance of taking something from this game, considering the XG would be boosted quite a bit from that penalty that Tapsoba did miss, but unfortunately we suffer a loss there on the final day of the season. But in the end, it doesn't mean anything because we still finish in third. You can see there that the playoff is between Werder Bremen and Fortuna Düsseldorf for that last promotion/relegation spot in the Bundesliga, but we finished third, 3 points clear of Freiburg with our goal differential. Didn't really matter what happened off the back of their loss to Borussia Dortmund with 2 games to go. We finished 11 points behind Dortmund, an absolute mile behind Bayern. 30 points. They stormed to the title here this season in the Bundesliga. Freiburg hold on to that last Champions League qualifying spot. Currently, Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League, Cologne in the Conference League, Stuttgart and a little bit of no man's land. I did say earlier that that 4th spot could be interesting because the team that wins the DFB Pokal, they could actually sneak their way into the Champions League. As it turns out, the rules have actually changed since then. This page is always buggy. Don't know what goes on sometimes with this page in Football Manager, but it's actually 6th and 7th where things could get interesting with the DFB Pokal winners. If Borussia Dortmund win that like you'd expect they would over Bayer Leverkusen, that all stays the same. But if Bayer Leverkusen can pick up a win, that game coming a couple of days off the back of a Europa League final, that could change things up here just a little bit. But in the end, we secured a top 4 finish, so always safely through to the Champions League, just that the game didn't actually know that until quite late on in the season. But thankfully, it does take a little bit of pressure off us here going into this Europa League final, but hopefully can still pick up a first continental trophy here at RB Leipzig as we take on Lazio. Just check where these guys did finish in Serie A. They finished second, so have had a pretty good season. I say finished, they've actually still got 1 game to go off the back of this final, but they are inside the top 4, so another team that are going to be locked in for a Champions League spot next season, but are doing a bit better than predicted, where they were supposed to be finishing in 6th. Thomas Frank is their manager these days, their captain. Alessio Romagnoli, the centre-back, at 32 years old, only got a couple of caps there for the Italian team, but 2 goals, and does look like a pretty darn good centre-back, 136 appearances these days for Lazio since switching from AC Milan back in 2022. Their vice-captain, Mattia Zaccagni, is a left-winger come central attacking midfielder and does look a little bit of a step up from the captain, truth be told, albeit is in need of a rest. Might be a bit tired going into this Europa League final, but the key player is Fabian, the Spanish midfielder, is quite similar to what we did just see in the vice-captain. He is going to join Lazio permanently because currently is on loan from PSG. So a couple of quite good players I've got there in this Lazio team, but hopefully we'll find a way to get over them. As I badly explained late on during the course of yesterday's episode, we are now playing with a higher tempo. It did work in the second half of a game that we played off camera against Nuremberg before yesterday's episode, so that was the reason that we did switch. That did seem to be helping us out a bit more than the notch down slightly higher tempo was. So back to a full out high tempo here at RB Leipzig seems to be working so far, apart from that game where we did lose to Bayer Leverkusen, but obviously with the team we started for that one, it's kind of expected. You can see there too, quite a few players about to play their last game for us here at RB Leipzig. Definitely going to be a pretty decent rebuild here coming up in the off-season transfer window. Do think we definitely freshen this team up with a bit more younger, promising talent, which does seem to be a bit more of an RB Leipzig theme. So this might be the last time you see players like Willie Orban. He's on his way to Al Fadi off the back of this game. Also down further, Yusuf Poulsen, a little bit of a club legend. He's off to Freiburg. Really not good enough to be keeping a spot here at RB Leipzig. Also, Andre Silva underbid. He could also be going to Al Fadi. Batista Mendy underbid from Feyenoord, our third choice defensive midfielder. That wouldn't be a bad price for him. Martin van der Voort on his way to Brentford. That was for £15 million, and currently that is it. But probably another couple of players that we might consider letting go of going to the start of next season. So a few players here who will be departing the club off the back of this Europa League final. Hopefully we can send them off with a European trophy for the first time here at RB Leipzig. In terms of injuries, got a couple. Obviously, Enriques is still out with that hip injury, and Norby still dealing with that fractured lower arm. Thankfully, he won't be starting, being our fourth choice centre back anyway. Hopefully, won't even need to be used off the bench. But 2 injuries that were picked up off the back of yesterday's episode. At least Ben Seguir is out with a damaged heel, so it does mean that currently Alex Mariba is our backup central attacking midfielder, and we've put Jala onto the bench. Not the best player, but hopefully he can do a job. But our backup central attacking midfielder there, Ben Seguir, he is missing. A bit of a shame because he was really good against Sevilla in those couple of games we did play yesterday while Baumgarten was out with an injury. Thankfully, he's now recovered. And also, Stefan Bajetic is out with a tight thigh. He can make the bench, but it's a little bit risky. We do still have Batista Mendy, so I can use him instead of Bajetic, but he is out for just one more day. Hopefully, won't have to use him with Mendy still being here at the club. So a couple of injuries that we're dealing with, but thankfully, the only first team one is to Enriques, that same one that we've had for the last couple of episodes. Hopefully, we can pick up a Europa League for the first time here at RB Leipzig, but we're after Belgrade for this final. So before we get stuck in to the Europa League final, it's time for the KloppBot's Hotspots. And here's what the KloppBot's found for us here over in Belgrade. We even told him that it's before a Europa League final. He said here, we're going to be doing free engaging activities to foster team bonding and relaxation. I'm not too sure what he thinks relaxation is, seeing what's coming up down below. But first up, a hotel. We're staying at the Hotel Mosfar, situated in the heart of Belgrade. This hotel is a historic establishment offering luxurious rooms and suites. Its central location provides easy access to the city's attractions, making it an ideal base for our team. Here's what the website does look like indeed. It does look quite fancy, like a couple of places that we've been to recently, including Monaco, of course, back for that quarterfinal that we did play. Some pretty classic architecture there, even a bit of a grassed roof, which is a bit interesting there on the top of the hotel. There's the entrance. It looks pretty FAF. Going down a bit further, you can see all the different rooms they've got there. This website's jumping all over the shop, but indeed, lots of places that we can stay here. We probably have the Royal Suite being the manager. Let's get rid there of that cookie thing. Now we've got the restaurant Tchaikovsky. That looks like it's got some pretty decent food as well. I've just figured out too that it's actually the mouse hovering that keeps changing what's going on here on this website. We'll go down a little bit further. They've got a cafe and pastry shop, and to be fair, that's some very nice food that the players can have off the back of this Europa League final. Going down one more spot here, there's a spa and wellness part of it. This looks like a very nice place to be before this final. There's some iconic guess where's my picture, the KloppBot's puppet. He needs to be there soon off the back of this Europa League final win. And that is the website, so it does look like a pretty nice place. We're staying here in Belgrade in the Mospa Hotel. Definitely want to check out that pastry area. That looks pretty good as well as the restaurant. But now the free activities, he did say team bonding and relaxation. Now the first one, we've done it a few times before, but I kind of get the drift of it in terms of being relaxing. It is a kayak tour on the Danube and Sava rivers. Embark on a guided kayak tour exploring the confluence of Belgrade's two major cities. This activity promotes teamwork and offers a unique perspective of the city's landmarks from the water. We've heard that one before, even yesterday back in Sevilla. Here's a couple of pictures of what this looks like. It's not too badly priced either, New Zealand wise, at $55 a person. The river does look a little bit dirty. That might just be because of the flowers and the time of the year when those pictures were taken. There you can see apparently no fat, no stress. That's a little bit not PC, but anyway, let's go on a bit further here and see more of these photos that are on the website, the provided photos. It looks all right, this kayak tour. Get a decent view of the cities. That's what we're going to do first up here in Belgrade, a bit of a kayaking tour. Now, this is where I'm a bit confused about the whole relaxation thing the KloppBot's going on about here with these activities, especially before Europa League final. That last one is a really bad idea, I think, if we do it before the game, because if we don't get out, that could be a problem. But first up, we're doing archery again, but this time with a little bit of a twist. It's archery tag. Now, to be fair, this sounds like it could go terribly wrong depending on the equipment, but engage in a friendly competition combining elements of archery and dodgeball. This dynamic activity encourages strategic thinking and coordination among team members. It does sound a little bit dangerous. Hopefully no actual arrows here on the things we're shooting at each other, because that could go really badly. Only a couple of photos here that we can see. We might get some more if we go up here. No, there's only 3 of them. Yeah, it could be interesting, this, but also it could go quite badly. Hopefully no injuries from this before we get stuck in to the Europa League final. But we're going to do some archery tag. Don't ask me how this works. Apparently a mix of dodgeball and archery, just what everyone is asking for in terms of a new sport. To be fair, the way things are going, they will probably be at the Olympics in the not too distant future. We're going to do some archery tag there in Belgrade before a little bit of an interesting one, especially just before the final, an escape room challenge. We're going to participate in an escape room experience where the team must work together to solve puzzles and escape within a set time. This activity enhances problem solving skills and fosters collaboration, which, to be fair, could be quite useful before a big final, but also that could really cause some issues within the team, paired up with the archery tag if you get a bad team there where someone's just shot someone in the nether regions. But here's the website that we've found. Pin escape rooms, there's all sorts going on here in terms of themed escape rooms. There's a butcher's dungeon, you got murder at the Masonic Lodge, Dracula's chambers. These all sound absolutely horrific. The secret library, lost in the jungle, the Inquisition treasure, location free, horror villains, the Wild West, or Jewel around the world. To be fair, that one looks the least scary of all the options so far. A Narcos prison break, that could be a little bit interesting. The Wizard's Curse, or an outdoor escape, that could kind of also be a bit better for what we want. So we can actually get locked inside a room and get stuck before the final. And to round things off, you've got The Witch and Aladdin's Lamp. So definitely quite a few options we've got there in terms of these themed escape rooms. Definitely think we want one where we're not actually locked inside the room, just in case our boys are a little bit dumb and can't find their way out. But that's what we're going to do here in Belgrade before the Europa League final. Fingers crossed we make our way out of that escape room in time to actually get to the stadium for the game and can pick up this Europa League against Lazio. And here are the team sheets for this Europa League final here. RB Leipzig, our team up first. Just one change to our usual best 11 Klosterman at right back, and also of course Galaxy in goal. But that is our first choice goalkeeper these days with that whole Bundervoort situation from back in the quarterfinals. There are Lazio going with a 4-1-4-1. It looks like could arguably be a 4-3-3 as well. The Europa League graphics do make the 4-3-3s look a little bit interesting sometimes, but hopefully here we can pick up our first European trophy, our first continental trophy of the save, especially considering we got yeeted out of Japan after getting Emilia Arudija into the Champions League for this upcoming season. Hopefully can make up for that with a Europa League at Leipzig. And bang on the 10-minute mark here, get the first highlight of this game. Lazio there, we're on the ball, but good foot in there. Couldn't quite see who that was, but the ball finds Sesko, a tackle, thankfully falls back to Baumgartner. Interesting pass, but thankfully get that one back. Now Tallis Magno will float this one into the mixer. It's a shocker from their goalkeeper. Is Martin van der Voort on the wrong team? Or that might even be John Higashi. No, it's someone else, but Baumgartner's there to put that one away. Martel gets that ball back from the header away, but picks out Magno with a really good pass who floats this one kind of far post, but their goalkeeper has an absolute shocker there. Apparently Solis dominated Almas in the air. Don't know if that helped you guys out too much, Lazio, because your goalkeeper there has had a shocker and Baumgartner back in the team. Gives us an early 1-0 lead. And only about 10 minutes off back of that opening goal. Now go thrown here inside the final third. Early stages well and truly on the front foot in this game. For some reason, Osterwalde takes a little while there to pick up that ball, but thankfully get it back there up to Openda. Plays it back to the goalkeeper though when he just takes a bit of a loose touch. Sesko put him under pressure. It was a clearance that he got away, but thankfully get that ball back. Little dinking behind there for Sesko, picks out Openda, who will take on a shot from a tight angle. Unfortunately, can't put that one away like he's done a few times for us so far this season from tight angles. But you can see the stats there well and truly on the front foot coming up to the half-hour mark, and we've got a 1-goal lead. And just about to make our way into the last 5 minutes of this first half, and a corner here in our favour, picking up Martel at the near post. Really should probably be looking for Sesko in those situations so far. He's not been up to too much. You would have thought he would have been the guy to put that chance away that we did take. That's the difference maker so far, the goalkeeper with a bit of a shocker, and thankfully Baumgartner was there to put that one home. But stats-wise, Lazio up to very little, well and truly on the front foot, but really going to need a cushion goal here to hopefully make sure we can bring home this Europa League. But very happy with that first half, no changes needed, with a 1-0 lead. And 10 minutes into the second half, we're going to make our first sub here. Louis Openda struggling a little bit on a 6.4, and also has picked up a yellow card. Magno can get a right wing, and Ujulago can come on with our first sub, but we're still 1 goal in front. And only a few minutes off back of that first sub, now it's time for a couple more here, because we've got both Tallis Magno and Baumgartner dropping down. 2 red hats, and Nusa can come on at right wing, and it's going to be Alex Mariba for Baumgartner, of course. No Ben Seguir on the bench because of that injury. We probably need to take him off, even though he is playing quite well and has got our only goal. So Mariba, let's try him out in central attacking midfield for this last half hour. Still 1-0 in front. And I think it's now time for our final couple of subs here up to the 65-minute mark. Klosterman's dropped down to a red hat, going quite well at right back, but Sakay can come on for him. And also, we've got one more sub left. We'll just see who we bring on here. It does look like Lakeba might drop down to a bit of a red hat before Orban, even though he's on a worse rating. We do want to keep Osterwalde out there a lot better than David Raum. So it's going to be Colwell coming on there for Lakeba with our final sub. And finally, get a highlight here in the second half, right on the 69-minute mark. Nice time here for a bit of action. Ujulago, he is on the ball. Fresh legs there, plays in for Osterwalde. Sesko with a shot. It's blocked and it falls back there. I think that was to Ujulago. Unfortunately, his shot does get blocked, so a decent chance for us there, but the defenders, they scramble that one away. A set piece, can't find anyone at the far post. Nusa does get the ball for us there. Loose touch, but thankfully quite close to the byline. So the Lazio defender just pumps that one straight into someone's big head in the crowd. They probably have a broken nose now. Unfortunately, Martel from the set piece puts that one just over the woodwork, and we're still just 1-0 in front. But definitely, it's been all us in terms of highlights so far in this game. Alex Mariba now from a throw finds Udrago, and Udrago now just on the edge of the box finds Almas, who tries to square it. Unfortunately, can't link up with a teammate. Lazio try and clear the lines, but thankfully, we'll get that one back now. Udrago plays that one back to Almas. Alex Mariba starts to make his way forward. He gets taken off the ball, but Sesko ends up with, unfortunately, decent save there from the Lazio goalkeeper, making up potentially for that shocker in the first half. Another set piece there again. We're looking for Martel for some reason instead of Sesko, but he can't put it on target. We do work this quite well though from the clearance, and Osterwalde, I think that was there, will put that one against the post, so we're getting some good chances here with the highlights we're seeing with 15 minutes to go, but we're still only 1 goal in front. And just now into the last 5 minutes here of this Europa League Final. Lazio, they're trying to make their way out from back. Really, it's the first time that I try and launch an attack in this game. It's been complete well-made traffic, something like 21 shots to 3, and they've had none on target. A nice ball forward there to Benjamin Sesko, puts that one away. Hopefully he stayed onside. Antonio Nusa there potentially with the assist, and surely if that one counts, that's going to be the goal that sees us lift the Europa League, and you think that's going to be the match winner here considering how little Lazio have done so far in this game, but it's well worked there off the back of Lazio trying to finally do something on the attack in this game. We get the ball back there, spread it out right, and some good short passing. Nusa off the back of the pass from Ariba just times that ball nicely to Benjamin Sesko, who puts that one away in the top left corner, and that gives us a 2-0 lead. Only a few minutes later, a set piece for us here at corner. Sakai should take a little bit of time over this one. We'll go near post, and we finally pick out Benjamin Sesko at a corner. He puts it away, surely. That should be what the set piece coach is learning about going to next season. Just go for Sesko. He's a giant, fingers crossed though, that no big clubs trigger his £90 million release clause, because it could definitely make things interesting going into next season. But he gets himself on a late hat-trick here. 3-0, a couple of goals there to absolutely put the ice on this one. Potentially a chance here from another set piece. And there's a penalty. Sesko's got pushed in the back there, so he actually is going to get a chance, I think, to complete a late hat-trick in the Europa League Final indeed. It's a penalty, VAR, no David Cook today, but it gets saved. Benjamin Sesko there, going for the top right corner. The goalkeeper now definitely makes up for that earlier error, but by that stage, it's far too little too late, and we pick up a very, very comfortable win there in the Europa League Final with RB Leipzig. Bust out the Europa League anthem. It's an absolute banger there, our players walking on to that lovely stage there for the Europa League. Hopefully, only time we're going to get the chance to pick up this competition, but that is a big win for us there. 3-0 in the Europa League Final. It's our first trophy here at RB Leipzig, and our first continental trophy in the save overall. A 3-0 win over Lazio. It was a very one-sided game, and we get the job done to lift the Europa League. And back in the inbox to bask in our glory here off the back of that Europa League when it was very, very one-sided. It's definitely a few of those tactical tweaks that we made off the back of that Monaco result, in particular that first league loss 4-3 away from home. It has eventually paid off. Sesko really there should have completed a hat-trick, but we don't mind because really, game was over by that stage. We pick up a comfortable 3-0 win. We get 7.37 million for winning that final, but no doubt a lot more through what we've done during the whole course of that competition. Benjamin Sesko, 15 goals, 8.00 average rating, and also 3 assists. Definitely our player of the tournament there in the Europa League. Apparently the pub has been praised there by the RB Leipzig supporters for lifting their first bit of European silverware. Just going up a bit further, Benjamin Sesko obviously gets the man of the match. Really should have got a hat-trick though, Ben, but hopefully you'll still be here next season. A bit more money because we did pick up that Europa League, and the review, you can see there that we did pick it up. Benjamin Sesko, the most goals and the highest average rating. The top assist did come from Matt O'Reilly over at RZ, the team that we knocked out back in the round of 16. And also, we definitely need a backup for Sesko next season now, because Silva is on his way, just like Willie Orban is, to Al Fadi this one for a fee of around about 13 million. A little bit annoyed because he could have gone to Lille a couple of weeks ago for 21 million. So unfortunately, he turned down a couple of contracts. It's cost us about 10 million, but Andre Silva definitely isn't quite the quality that we want here for a backup striker in behind Benjamin Sesko. So that's his last game for RB Leipzig. Not that he made his way onto the field, but he can depart as a Europa League winner off the back of that 3-0 win over Lazio. And just making our way forward here to the end of season review, just waiting for some things here, like of course the DFB Pokal final, and we are actually signing a backup striker. Got onto this one quite early because the KloppBot realised this guy looks pretty darn good. Uziel Marbam will join us from Pumas over in Mexico, and he is a very promising player. We have included a clause here that if we sell Benjamin Sesko, he will become a regular star. We'll see if indeed that becomes the case, because obviously that depends on that big old 90 million release clause that Sesko does have. But Marban will join us going into next season. That's our second signing alongside Xavier Simons on a free transfer. But he is an 18-year-old who's just picked up his first cap for the Mexican national team leading into a World Cup coming up here in 2026. But he does look very, very good for only 18 years old. Definitely has that potential that we want for players here at RB Leipzig. So the KloppBot's worked early there on a backup striker. Fingers crossed for Sesko next season, and that release clause doesn't get triggered. You can see there the teams that were after him: Arsenal, Chelsea and City. So we got in early there with our transfer budget having been given to us a little while ago now, so thankfully we got him before those big English clubs did. So Marban will join us as our new backup going into next season, unless Xisco has his release clause triggered. And going forward a few more days, we've got the end of season review here for our first half season at RB Leipzig. Not too sure how much of this will relate to our time here, seeing as we've only been here for 6 months, but we'll flick our way through it quickly and see what does pop up, starting off here with the transfers in. Now, to be fair, we've made quite a few of these. Magno, Martel, Colwill, Benseguer, and Bayatic Sakai, the only one that we didn't make, and he has the worst rating, 30.5 million as well. That seems like a big price there for a third choice right back, but apparently the signing of the season, that was Tellers Magno, our first choice left winger with 14 appearances, 4 off bench, 6 goals, and 5 assists. Also Martel with a good green rating, but those are the transfers that we did make and only got rid of a couple of players. Gutschluder, not through any want, because that was a release clause triggered there by Arsenal. Also got rid of Schlager for a bit more to Brighton. Going down further, let's see who else we got rid of. Casas for 1.6 million, and a bloke from our under-19s off to Werder Bremen. Those were the sales that we did make, but overall, I think it's worked out well. Got these guys up to third in the Bundesliga and did pick up the Europa League. Couple of players here out on loan. We might look to sell most of them going into next season, raise some extra transfer funds. Didn't get a lot from the board, especially considering that transfer budget you guys saw in yesterday's episode did get propped up by quite a few of those sales already scheduled to go through, as you saw earlier in today's episode. The season's results now, we took over the club back on the 31st of December. You can see up until then their form was pretty rubbish. We're going to focus on the results off the back of that, and we start off right about there. It might even include all the things here in the bottom half of the graphic, and indeed it does. A really good start, 4 wins in a row, then started to drop points a little bit more regularly. Losses to Cologne, Hamburger, and the last day of the season against Bayer, but by that stage didn't matter too much. A few more draws, especially away from home in the back half of the season, but overall a pretty decent job to get us back inside of that top 4 and secure Champions League football for next season, especially because now we can actually build a squad a bit more suited to us here at RB Leipzig. The Europa League, we did very well and obviously did lose that first league to Monaco in the end. That might have been a bit of a blessing in disguise, considering made some tactical tweaks, got rid of Van der Voort, and off the back of that picked up 4 straight wins, including that very comfy 3-0 win there in the final over Lazio to pick up a first European trophy here at RB Leipzig. In the DFB Pokal, we weren't really in it when we were here because they got knocked out very early, and then too, Bayer Leverkusen did beat Dortmund in the final. So despite the fact that Dortmund had a pretty decent season, the best of the rest by far, they don't pick up a single trophy by Leverkusen. They'll make their way into the Europa League next season. And just going back here to the table, that means that Stuttgart, they get shafted out of everything. So that's a bit interesting there. Stuttgart, they get done by Bayer Leverkusen. Cologne are in the Conference League, and Frankfurt joined by Bayer in the Europa League. Going forward to the moments to remember, the biggest win was 5-0 over Union Berlin at the start of February. That was a game that we did take charge of. The match to remember, our first one, a 4-2 win over that stage, a third place Bayer Leverkusen, who off the back of that really did sink down the table. Quite interestingly, Graham Potter's been sacked despite the fact that he did win that DFB Pokal, which does seem a little bit harsh, but Bayern now are looking for a new manager, and the goal of the season actually came when we went in charge, which means unfortunately we can't check it out, but it was there, scored by Benjamin Sesko in a Europa League game as part of a hat-trick. Going forward to the finances, most of these have gone down, which is a little bit weird considering that we won the Europa League, but to be fair, don't know if we can take too much blame for this considering we were only here for a half season. Hopefully that Europa League win might just boost our reputation up a little bit. The top shirt sellers, Henri, Sesko, Openda, Baumgartner, and Tellers Magno. So to be fair, had a little bit of an influence on that one with our new star signing at left wing. Now, best 11 for the season, Van der Voort in goal, debatable, but he's now off to Brentford for next season. The back four makes sense of Onlex, Lukaber, Orban, and Oosterwolde in midfield. Good Schluter with Mariba. We end up going, of course, with Martel and Almas, but of course, Good Schluter got taken from us before he could start for us. So to be fair, can't judge too much on that one, especially with a 7 average rating. Mariba, though, a little bit surprised he's there over Almas. And in terms of attacking midfield, this is our front four that we did use. Openda out right, Magno out left, Baumgartner in behind, Benjamin Sesko, and he definitely should be picking up player of the season for the record that he does have 35 goals and 5 assists with a 7.42 average rating, and indeed he picks up the Fans Player of the Season as well as the Young Player of the Season, couple of those awards that you saw earlier. The top goal scorer Xisco with 35, most assists on Reeks with 11. Xisco the most man of the matches with 9, and going over to see if we got any competition awards. Xisco got the Player of the Season, the Golden Boot, and the Young Player of the Season for the Europa League. So that's not going to help us in terms of trying to drum down interest in him with that £90 million release clause, but hopefully that's a bit too much even for the big English clubs, and we can keep him and have that new signing out of Mexico be his backup, because that looks like a bit more of a striking duo I can trust here next season at RB Leipzig. Actually gives Xisco a rest when he needs one. And going over the right-hand side, Xisco breaks the record there for most overall goals by a player in a season, as well as that hat-trick by a player in a league match on Reeks, the most assists by a player in the season. Xisco, most man of the matches. Paulson breaks the record for appearances by a player at the club. That won't get broken next season because he's gone. And the youngest and oldest players, not too sure where to hand in the youngest player, but Peter Galaxy, we brought him in late there for Van der Voort, and to be fair, kept a clean sheet in the Europa League Final, not letting him do too much at 37 years old and 14 days. Hopefully, he'll stay around next season, but definitely going to need a first-choice goalkeeper in the transfer window. Apparently, it really came together for us midway through the season once we joined, and of course, we picked up the Europa League and a manager timeline. This could look a little bit interesting now off the back of that move from Omiya Arudija on the 31st of December. We'll see what pops up here at RB Leipzig. We're raking it in and making it rain quite a bit with the signings and sales that we did make, and we picked up the Europa League, and Benjamin Sesko was awesome. So that's all the changes there to our manager timeline off the back of our first 6 months here at RB Leipzig, and that will do it for the end of season review. I do just want to go forward a bit more though, because in 8 days' time, that's the Champions League final. Of course, we're now in the Super Cups. They'll determine who we take on in that game. And also, we'll just double check the KloppBot still wants us here as we run through the Red Bull review. And we've gone forward to the 1st of June, a day off the back of that Champions League final game. We take on Real Madrid in the Super Cup. Unsurprisingly, they picked up yet again. A bit more surprising, they beat Tottenham, have somehow made their way through to the final this season. They no longer have big Ange in charge these days. Ketil Knutsen, formerly over at Bodo Glimt. That's an interesting appointment back in 2024. So to be fair, Ange didn't last too long there at Spurs in the save, but they made the final, which is a little bit surprising considering their squad still looks pretty similar to what they've got currently in real life. But Real Madrid, they pick up that Champions League. We'll take them on in the Super Cup. That might even be quite early next season considering it is a World Cup year. But off the back of that, I think it's now time for us here to update you guys on what's gone on with all the other Red Bull clubs. I'll spoil it early. Thankfully, the KloppBot's been sensible, and we're staying at RB Leipzig for next season. But we'll start off with RB Salzburg, who of course did get knocked out by Lazio in the Europa League semi-final, denying us there of an all Red Bull final. In the Europa League, we'll just pop over to competitions and see if they did indeed win the league this season. They did 12 points clear of Sturm Graz, who of course beat them last season, and they did actually not win the cup. They got knocked out in the semi-final of that as well. So just one trophy there for Salzburg this season in terms of the league going down now. And I think next up it would be Bragantino, who of course just made their way back up to Serie A. And to be fair, they're doing a pretty good job as well in Serie A. They're currently top of the table with 17 points, albeit they do have Sao Paulo right behind them, who have a couple of games in hand, but they did pick up a trophy. They won the Sao Paulo State Championship. So to be fair, Bragantino doing a pretty good job and are still alive in the Copa do Brasil. So they're actually going quite well there in their first season back up in Serie A. Next up, the New York Red Bulls, who, as I'm recording this, are actually losing 2-1 to the Galaxy in the MLS Cup final. Hopefully they find a way to turn that round, albeit I don't really care about the Red Bulls in real life. But anyway, here's what they look like in game. They've got Dean Smith in charge, which is interesting. Still got a few of the current players there, the likes of Emil Forsberg, but it doesn't look like they're going quite as well as they have done in previous seasons here in the MLS. In terms of the Eastern Conference, they find themselves down in 11th, albeit only 1 point outside of one of those qualifying spots for the playoffs. And saying that though, their goal differential is pretty awful. It will mean they're a fair way down the Supporters' Shield in 25th, so definitely not doing as well as they have done in previous seasons of the save. Also knocked out in the 5th round of the Cup by the New England Revolution, so not doing as well as they have done in previous years. And last up, of course, need to check in on the club that we led to the J1 title last season in Omiya Arudija, where an Australian has completely ruined everything. They are bottom of the league and going absolutely terribly. Let's check things out here. They've still got some similar players. They haven't sold anyone too big off the back of us leaving. But that Australian, he's even worse than Ange in this game. He is awful. I think he previously came from Makita Zalvia. He should be alright looking at those attributes, but just as a bad manager. Let's go back here and see the competition, the state of things here at Omiya. They did not win the Super Cup. That's not too surprising. They're still going in the J-League Cup and the Emperor's Cup, but they're right down the bottom of the table while their rivals, the Europa Red Diamonds, are on top. So that's a bit filthy there because last season it was pretty much the other way around. They are 5 points from safety. So to be fair, I was a little bit concerned that the KloppBot might send us back to Japan. If he does, we might need to get them back up to J1 from the J2. So unfortunately, not too sure if the KloppBot there made a great decision sending us to RB Leipzig off the back of our J1 win, because really, looks like these guys are going to be in a fair bit of trouble once they make their way into the Champions League, especially if they still have the Aussie in charge who's got them bottom of the J1. So unfortunately, Mia Arudija might be going down to the second tier off the back of a J1 title win, doing a little bit there of a Leicester City type thing, albeit a bit more sudden. But I think that will do it for today's episode. Thankfully, not going to have to go back to Japan and do all our work again. We're going to stay here at RB Leipzig off the back of that win in the Europa League Final. If you enjoyed that game as well as this half season here at RB Leipzig, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow, run you guys through all the transfers we do going into the start of next season. Our transfer budget these days with those extra sales is up to just under 60 million, so definitely got a fair bit of money there that we can spend. Hopefully can sign some decent wonder kids, get rid of some of those older guys like we've already done here at RB Leipzig. You can kind of see on the left hand side all the areas that we are looking at improving at going into the new season, and also hopefully can maybe pick up a Super Cup off the back of the World Cup. We might also come back to that in tomorrow's episode, depending on how the season does start off the back of a World Cup. But until tomorrow, let's start our first full season here, fingers crossed, at RB Leipzig. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.